And welcome to I Protest. This is Donald Jeffries coming to you from just outside the Swamp and Fest of Washington, D.C. As we do every Friday at this time, I have had one of my famous last minute cancelizations, and I mean last minute, less than 5 minutes ago. So I have no guests. So I will be opening up, once I start seeing some names in the chat room here, I'll be opening up the studio for people to come in and talk, whether by video or audio. So I hope to see some people because I used to have people lined up in the chat. I don't see anybody here. I hope people are not screwing with this show, but maybe the same forces that shadow ban me everywhere else. The good news, I do have X back. So should be live streaming on X now too. Amazingly enough, it was a Mother's Day miracle, I'm calling it. I was unable to get X's all AI support team. Elon Musk refused to hire any humans for that. I was unable to get them to respond to simple questions. Definitely not advanced AI, that's for sure. And eventually. Oh, good to see Stephanie Ground. Everybody's coming in at one time. Good to see you. Hi, Piper Fogo. Good to see anybody. So anybody that wants to come in, I'm going to put. I was supposed to have a very interesting woman on today. I think I'm going to have her next Friday because obviously I think she felt bad about it, but she's been through a lot. So she's one of these girls that was traumatized and abused in the foster care system. So, I like to expose that. So I'll probably do that next week. So I'm going to put this out here. I'll keep referring to it. And anybody that wants to come in and jump in, well, actually, I'll put it in a minute because I'll talk over it. I'll do it. There's Peter Seacosh, my buddy, the greatest researcher in the world. The reports that I got over $1 trillion in market value has been wiped out from the U.S. stock. Well, from what I understand, young Baron Trump is doing incredibly well. From what I hear, I think something he made 120 million or something like that. But of course, he probably has some insider knowledge here because a lot of people think Trump is doing that by what he says. The things he says have such an incredible impact on the stock market that just think of the power you have. You're the president. You can just tell your boy, "Oh, okay, go do this, go do that." That's why I say, you will never hear me give any respect at all to the elite like that. Why my book Survival of the Richest is about how these people are not superior in any way, shape, or form. They're not more talented. They're not more skilled. They don't have any special knowledge except for they have insider knowledge. So who couldn't succeed doing that? You could go in any ghetto, any trailer park, anywhere you want, and those people would succeed the exact same way with that same insider knowledge. Now, they don't want you to think that. They want you to think they have something special. They absolutely do not. But anyhow, Elon Musk's AI support was absolutely worthless. And I don't know what happened because I went back and forth with them more than a dozen times. And then just suddenly on Mother's Day, it worked. So I'm calling it a Mother's Day miracle. So I am back. If you were wondering where I was going on Twitter, at Don Jeffries, I'm there now. Good to see Robin Lee. And so you can get me back in tweeting. Maybe I can grow at least I don't know just that's what he was doing in the other account. There's an at real Don Jeffries, but that was the account I created. Don't need that. Just at Don Jeffries is there. So anyhow, so lots and lots of stuff going on in the news. Unfortunately, none of it good. The most recent thing, this Trumpenstein just continues to unravel and dismantle any kind of legacy he might have had with sane people, any real kind of America First legacy. His latest is going to China, which is China, which I don't think he's not going to say China anymore because he seems to be best buddies now and with them. But he's now revived the 500,000 Chinese students and he's welcoming them in. Just if somebody can explain to me how that can be reconciled with any concept. Good to see you, Patrick Stanton, of America First. Let me know what that is. And what happens to those are 500,000 spots in American universities. What happens to the 500,000 Americans who could have gone there and are displaced now? I mean, we're going to get the same rhetoric that we got for immigrants that they're just doing the jobs America won't do, or these just students just doing the studying that American students won't do. Just absolutely, it's a disgrace. It's a betrayal. What Trumpenstein is doing now is the greatest betrayal in the history of politics. I mean, you're used to politicians not fulfilling their promises, but this guy, especially with the whole orchestration of the Trumpenstein project, where they had the other side, going after him, and he had all the right enemies, all these horrible people. And that's why the people with TDS, I kept trying to remind them, and I'm reminding them still, even though I'm with you in many ways now, because in some ways I have TDS, I can understand it, but um, you you can never let it slip over into the other side is good. I just saw a commercial earlier for this awful governor, Abigail Span. People like my good friend Vince Agnelli and others are moving out of Virginia just because of her. She's awful. And she's commercial there again promoting the Democrats and her how great these data centers are. These data centers are not great. They're terrifying and they need to be explained. And if we had real representatives be holding hearings on what the hell is going on. Why are you building a it's right. Yeah, Peter Chief guy's points about they're trying to Trump and all his 1% buddies, all the open border crowd that they're in there trying to strike up a deal for China to build factories in the United States, not building them ourselves. So that's the Trumpenstein way. The new MAGA is to get China. And again, it wasn't China the most demonized group. I mean, how many times we hear about how dangerous China was? So now I guess they're not only not dangerous, but we need to have import 500,000 students. Then we need to have them build factories here because it's not. It just this is so stupid. They made a movie in the 1980s about that. Remember with Michael Keaton about the Chinese coming and taking over a factory. So I guess it's ridiculous. James Yonan says, "Do you ever hear about the Arcadia, California mayor Eileen Wang allegedly spying for China now?" I think I heard something about that, but yeah, Robin Lee talks about the data centers. Yeah, and why? And that's said, what is going on with this? I worked in a data center for much of my working, certainly the last 25, more almost. How many years was it? I guess, yeah, 20, over 20, anyhow, 25 years of my career in the workforce. I worked at various data centers, and none of them were really big. So I understand this is obviously a different kind of data center. But what kind of data centers are they? I think it's Utah. Isn't it Utah? I read that they're creating a data center that is twice the size of Manhattan. What kind of data is coming out of something like that? I mean, what's that? Make that make sense. Explain it. But very few people are questioning, except people like Thomas Massey, who's probably on the verge of defeat. They're doing everything they can to beat him. And this is, again, this is an electoral process where the voters, to whatever extent vote is real, um, voting is real. And I think it obviously is rigged and can be rigged, but I don't know how much they have to rig it. I've listened to these average Americans, listen to them talk. They are just incredibly stupid, and they just vote against their interests. They're so used to doing it, they don't know any other way. They're used to voting against their interests, and they just continue to do it. So they've now been convinced by this idiot Trumpenstein that Massey is the enemy, the only good, by far the best congressman we have in Congress. That he's something that he's not you're right, he's not this kind of MAGA. And they've now and all the APAC money is throwing in there. He's the only congressman that doesn't take APAC. Called them out for it. They can't have that. And now they're coming out with a different woman every day. They claim the guy's having affairs with, and so it's amazing we didn't hear about this right on the brink of the election. I mean, they're not subtle. So 96% of these clowns get reelected every single election, but Massey will be one that goes down. See, just so if you remember, a few years ago there was the guy that was paralyzed. God, I can't remember his name now. Somebody in the chat will probably remember, but he was very good, very young guy. And he talked a lot about the crazy sex parties in Washington. He had a lot of promise, and they went after him. They come up with this ridiculous scandal where he's gay. I mean, he was penalized from the waist down, but they came up with some kind of gay thing or something. And of course, he lost. I think the only incumbent that lost. So these wonderful voters vote. I mean, they can't vote Lindsey Graham out. They can't vote, Chucky Schumer out, but they vote out the only good people you have. So I have no confidence that the Kentucky voters will vote. Not that it matters. We can't even have one. Not that he can do anything anyhow, but it would be a nice symbolic victory if he won. Um, John Baskin, they're talking about the Utah one. That it's big. It's 64 square miles, bigger than 6 miles wide by 10 miles long. The Utah data center that Lehman has. I mean, just think. It should be, they need to have intense scrutiny of this. What kind of data is coming out of something like that? And of course, if you don't want people to think they're building a huge control grid and that this is being used to spy on Americans, what else could it be? And the thing about water and all this stuff, you have to need this special water for data centers. What is this about? Unless it's, it's just, Trump and them have alluded to the fact that AI is heavily involved here. So, okay, do we, so these are AI data centers run by, but it looks to me like, and again, I don't make predictions. I don't know what they're doing, but if all this talk of data centers everywhere, um, what does it mean? Does it mean that we're going to go to the social credit system, which we all fear, the digital currency? I certainly do. And so but it looks like that's what's happening. So, at any rate, those are the main stories in the news. But it's, I just published a Substack on the hantavirus and suicide dolphins. So if you don't subscribe to me at Substack, please do. DonaldJeffries@substack.com. It's called I Protest, just like this podcast, because I'm always protesting something. And if you know why I name it I Protest, because after one of my favorite movies, Meet John Doe, where that was the character's column and John Doe's column was called Protest. So that's a tip of the hat to that. So I think we should all be protesting, because there's so much to protest in this crumbling land of ours. But let's hope that, because we have so much to worry about here. We have Trump and Stein, who is completely unraveling, who is turning into Snidely Whiplash. Before he was like, I was talking to my sister today, and I can't find any humor. Before I could, was a Trump agnostic, because speaking of Trump agnostic, I'll talk about that in a minute. My good friend John Barber. But in fact, I'll do that now, just because I tend to go from subject to subject. But those of you who don't know, John Barber was uh, one of my closest friends, and I don't know how he became one of my closest friends, because the guy was a show business legend. He was Frank Sinatra's writer. He was a host and creator of Real People, was the #1 show on television back in 1980. And now he dies it was last week or a little bit at 93. And as far as anybody can be shocked at someone dying at 93, I was shocked, because it's a great run. But until recently, as far as I know, he was still golfing every day in Nevada. Sometimes we're 115-degree heat. So just an amazing physical specimen, amazing guy. It's hard for me to believe I won't talk to him on the phone. I've already done several interviews about him. Jeff Renson and I did last Monday night. We did a nice retrospective of a memorial show to him. And I went to Leno Sonic, who is Black Op Radio, mostly concentrates on JFK stuff. I've been on there a few times before, even though the JFK community tends to ignore me, even though I believe I have seniority. It's just made research now, because I started out so young doing it, but they prefer to ignore me normally. But I was on his show, so we did a 15, 20-minute thing. He's doing a segment with most people, with a lot of people on John Barber. So anyway, rest in peace, John Barber. And those of you remember, he was on this show many times. It got to the point where he couldn't have him on anymore, because he couldn't understand the streaming. He couldn't understand the concept of the links. So unfortunately, he was the first guest on this show. He was the first guest on my first show on TFR. He was the first guest on the Donald Jeffries show over there in Chile produced. So he was always my first guest traditionally at a show. So I will definitely miss him, and he will never be forgotten. So rest in peace, the great legend John Barber. We have So people are talking that Trump said, and says Trump is a total traitor and absolutely. He most likely promised Xi more U.S. land in exchange for not supporting Iran. That's my theory. We know that. Good to see a twisted pistol. Um, he says, "Do I see how Xi looked at Miller, Stephen Miller?" I'm not sure. I don't think I saw that. I wasn't watching it quite that closely, but all I know is that this is in all these aspects. We have to worry about the data centers, which seem to me to be opening the door to that digital currency, which we all fear, and would be one of really the final nail in the coffin. At that point, then we have to do what Vince Agnelli and others want us to do. We have to just start our own small communities because we have to unplug from that. I don't know how, unfortunately, I don't know how you get your money out. And what terrifies me is people like, if you go to that digital currency, there's going to be a social credit score associated with it. They're going to have to, they already kind of do it. My friend R.B. Ham, the great Canadian, who I'll be on his show tonight. We're having a special edition of Beyond the Pale at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. So look for that. Maybe RB will show up in the chat here. The great Salim Masur, who I also, Mansur, who I also respect quite a bit. Twisted Pistol says Stephen Miller, Xi and Miller had an awkward stare down. You don't take anything with Stephen Miller. Is an absolute funny, tremendous Zionist, and he was one of the stars of the ridiculous alleged shooting at the White House Correspondents' Center. If you remember, I had some fun with that, but we showed the photo where he was standing behind his pregnant wife as a human shield while grabbing one of her breasts. I haven't seen too many things that could top that, but anyway, so we have Trump is not collapsing, and there's no hope there at all. We may lose the only voice in Congress that we already lost Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we decided to kind of inexplicably to retire. And if we lose Massey, then really it's the last because the rest of them are just they're all who's an anti-Zionist in Congress? Except maybe some people in the squad who are wrong on everything else, who hate white people. I don't know. Can we support them? I don't think so. So there's absolutely nothing then in terms of the entire gist of MAGA, the entire gist of America First has all been forgotten, and the people that are still in the cult seem to forget that, and they are just waving it on there. And they've completely forgotten about the mass deportation. There's no deportation. If you're bringing 500,000 to the states, I don't know what kind of deportation we need to offset that, but nothing. No mass deportation. There's not even any talk about it. Look at the story with ICE. All the rage a couple months ago. Rage again, big and bold, and shooting and killing American citizens. And I still think they found the Somali daycare center frauds. Has anybody been prosecuted for that? I don't think so. So that was all like just a complete joke. And Trump starts the ridiculous war with Iran, which we don't seem to ever. Looks like we're never going to be able to extricate ourselves from that. We certainly, no matter what, are not going to win, even though it hasn't developed into World War III. And you guys know what I say. I think they constantly want us to think, we're on the precipice of World War III, and for whatever reason they don't pull that trigger. I think in large measure, in fact, I don't think we can field an army here in America 2.0. We have a pathetic group of youngsters, thanks to the evil overlords who put stuff in the water and the food to decrease testosterone in men, and who've been pushing this insane transgender agenda. So they've created just a bunch of really confused young generation. And these are the people they know. Bobby Kennedy, one of the most incredible things he said since he's been HHS secretary is that 70% of draft age or military age youngsters in America could not serve, either for physical, emotional, or mental reasons. That's an astounding stat, but I believe it. I've seen them. I looked around. It's not like they're no more unfit than the old. I mean, you look at some of the the Gen Xers and or whatever the generation is between them. A lot of them, these are the crazy women that are doing, especially that are saying the things they're saying on TikTok. So I don't know what they're qualified to do. I think I missed some stuff in chat here. Let me see here. Peter said, "You probably already mentioned this reception in and out where I am. How about Massey putting forth legislation to register APAC as foreign lobby? Boy, he'd better up." Yeah, and that's what I mean about people. And my friend Sybil Edmonds, who is a wonderful lady. I was honored to have her come on my show a while back for the first interview she's done in years. And but I don't know what she's talking about. She's going after Massey, and maybe he's a phony too. I don't know. But I think, at some point, we can't believe that everybody is compromised. I mean, we're none of us perfect. Well, if they dug and dug and dug, they'd find something on me. But, I am pretty much what I am, an open book. But, people are flawed, but they can be basically decent. And Massey, impresses me as somebody like it. Good to see you, Pam ZZ. She's always sending me emails, and I like it. And she's always got that laughing emoji with her or something. It's like she's happy. Good to see you, Pam. But so at this point, when you try to look around, what kind of hope do we have? I mean, the only hope we have, we're gonna have to find it within ourselves first, and we're gonna have to be the change that you want to see. We're going to have to start doing it ourselves. So we have to start, living our lives the way we want to, and lead by example. Because I don't know what else we can do beyond that. We were unsuccessful in getting rid of the tyrants on the school boards, and even out here, I live kind of in the epicenter of that. We weren't successful. They're still there. They're still pushing, critical race theory and the crazy transgender agenda. So nothing happened. So we if we can't affect change at the school board level, then what can we do? And if we can't get parents, that's why I wrote in my Substack today. I don't care, at some point the masses have to share some blame for this. Really, most of the blame, in my view. Whoever the conspirators are, whatever you want to call them, we have to go along with it. They don't have we're not being ruled by the Justice League where people have superpowers. I don't think. I mean, they don't want to put that out that they're superior, Nephilim or reptilians or whatever. I don't think they are. I think they just have power. But we have so many, we outnumber them by so much, by the hundreds of millions. There's no excuse for us letting. I sat through the same propaganda that these woke and conditioned people did. I mean, how dumb do you have to be? So we talked about the hantavirus coming out. Are you really going to fall for that again? It's 4 years later, or 5 years later, you're going to do it again. You're going to put your mask on again. You're going to keep 6 feet away. You're going to not see your loved ones. I mean, this is insanity, and that's what we have to affect. Is that we just have to face the fact we really cannot convert or change. And I don't say convert, but wake up all those normies out there. They are absolutely comatose, and they don't want to be woken and awakened. And that's the reality we face. I'm looking at we see here. And says militarizing the police is to prevent us from resisting. It's why, that way I don't support law enforcement. Yes, and I keep trying to tell the right that. Why are you supporting these people? These are militarized police forces. What do they have to do to get you to understand they're not on your side? What happened on January 6th? Didn't that show you enough? What happened in the 2020 Black Lives Matters riots in all across the country? During Donald Trumpenstein's first administration, he did nothing. The same guy that militarized ICE and sent them into Minnesota, he didn't do anything when statues were being torn down all over the place, buildings were being burned, the police stood down, the fire department stood down, nobody did anything. I called it a Lord of the Flies situation back then. No, speaking of the flies, I got a stupid fly flying around and stuff. It's distracting me. But at any rate, so you had the police kneeling down with the protesters in the summer of 2020. Some of them, I think, washed the feet. I mean, these are the same people that shoot somebody with a black and white, and shoot somebody that had a busted tail light out. When they try to run. They've done so many bad things. These cops get anybody to support these militarized police. It's inexcusable. And it's just like supporting the truth. Why would you support the truth? Read my substacks, read my books about how just the rape and plunder alone, the rapes and theft, they go back to the Civil War. This is what you're paying for. This is what you're supporting. I'm sure there are some good ones, of course. I'm not saying they're all bad, but this is the system. It lends itself to that, just like they're good cops. But the system lends it. They're not weeded out. Neither are the soldiers, because the system pushes it and wants those kind of people. Kenny Infant Power says, just saw that the hantavirus now can be in sperm for 6 years. Yeah, I did see something about it. It's what they're going to push so nobody has sexual contact with puppy. Yeah, that's why it's so. If they're, and I joked in the Substack I just put out today. Well, we don't have much to worry about if it can only be spread from human to human by sexual contact, especially among the young people, because like God knows what the percentage of men under 40 is that are virgins. I don't think too many are having sex. I have to say they're not there, but I don't think they are. So we're okay with that. So anyway, and the other way is apparently coming into contact with saliva or droppings from rodents. Now, picture that. Picture that scenario. How likely is that? How would that happen? Somebody going to French kiss a rodent? I mean, they never had saliva, but that's what they're telling us, and they will fool people. Good to see you, White Wolf. Catching up on the chat here. Ron Helton, good to see you. Catherine, good to see you. They're corrupt. They are the same. Absolutely. They keep, that's what they do. They keep promoting themselves. That's why when nothing changes, and we've all been in the workforce, you know what happens. I mean, the people, the bosses are not going to, that's by somebody like me. I was never going to be promoted to much of anything when I was in the workforce because they didn't want my kind of thinking now. I was not going to sit in a boardroom and say, that's right, JR. Good idea, JR, and collect my big bonus at Christmas. Pam ZZ said, yeah, in 2020, I lived a half-mile away from the looting in Philly. Cops told to stand there. Absolutely. And I remember it more inexcusably that the firefighters were. They were let buildings burn because they feared for their safety. What? Fear? I mean, it's like officer safety. We fear for our safety. We can't get criminals. We fear for our safety. It's like, and never remember, if you need any other reason not to support cops, the Supreme Court ruled, as I think they've ruled more than once, but they have ruled definitively that police are under no obligation to protect you. So the protect and serve thing, that's BS. Our government has said, no, they're not serving you. You're paying them. So technically they work for you, but they are under no obligation to protect you. Legally, they've told you that. So why anybody would support them at this point, I don't know. But why would anybody support the troops? I mean, geez, but again, we saw when Ben Brad. I mean, you have a guy like Bradley Manning who became Chelsea Manning. So talk about a feel good story in our woke media, and they can't even sell. They're not. They can't even support that. A transgender whistleblower, and somehow it still didn't work because it was a whistleblower. We don't like any whistleblowers. You can be transgender, you can be polka dot colored, you can, whatever. But no, you can't. That not when you're supporting that. But we saw when Bradley Manning just showed what was happening in Iraq and Afghanistan with video of them, killing and laughing about killing civilians. We know that they were playing soccer with decapitated heads. We know they were urinating in corpses. We know they were raping indiscriminately, which again goes back to the Civil War. American troops have been, now, I'm sure troops from all over the world probably have done that too. I don't know. But all I know is we can document what our troops have done, and we have a history of doing that. They don't discriminate. They rape children too. They just rape and they steal everything that wasn't nailed down. It wasn't until I was, Peter C. Koch was, helping me quite a bit with the research for American Memory Hall, and we found that Appomattox, people talk about Lee surrendering to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, Virginia. What we don't know is the guy Wilmer McLean, who owned Appomattox Courthouse, reported afterwards that the Union soldiers stole everything they could get their hands on out of that town. So they went out the way they went in. They had. I mean, these were the absolute thieves, the good guys. They were rapists and thieves. And then you go to the greatest generation, World War II. Our boys raped. Now a lot of it was the Russians. The Russians were a raping machine, in World War II. They raped so many Germans. It was unconscionable. And then they raped so many Japanese that they didn't discriminate. They raped so many Japanese that they had to open special brothels for them in Japan. Just it's disgusting. And this is what we support. So when you hear about what goes on in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's a tradition. This is a fine tradition that goes back too long ago. Catherine says, feels like no mayor held responsible or chief of police. No one's ever held responsible for anything. An authority, that's the problem. Even if you believe the ridiculous, nonsensical story of 9/11, like you just believe somehow, shouldn't someone be held responsible? Shouldn't someone at the Pentagon, the heart of we spent trillions and trillions of dollars on there, shouldn't someone be held responsible that no camera was working, no video was working that day, so we couldn't capture what hit it? That these planes were flying around for an hour and a half from the first to the last one, and that we didn't send any planes up like we did when golfer Payne Stewart's jet about 6 months earlier had a tragic accident, so it was flying with everybody dead on board, and they sent a bunch of fighter jets up to make sure it crashed in an unpopulated area. What? No action was taken at all. So even if you accept the nonsensical, ridiculous, impossible story of 19 crazed Arabs, hijackers, armed with box cutters and plastic knives, deadly weapons. So of course, all Americans would roll over. Yes, please, sure, hijackers. Even if you accept that, wasn't there incredible dereliction of duty on the part of everyone at all levels? No one was punished. No one. No one was held accountable. Just like in the JFK assassination, the Secret Service weren't even questioned for letting it happen. And just like in Butler, Pennsylvania, and then more recently, White House Correspondents' Center, the Secret Service weren't questioned at all. Obviously not doing their job. And again, even if you accept those things at face value, and people read me, no, I don't. Obviously, I'm very dubious about it. But if you did that, they don't question anything. So you're exactly right, Catherine. No one's held accountable at any level unless they want to go after somebody. Then they'll punish somebody. Kenny F. in Powder says, locally, the police knocked a man down because all he did was say, please let me effing finish. And some asshole said there are kids present. And the guy said, so what? And he got arrested. Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, it's you can look in Florida. Now, a lot of this is around the Zog and the Zog's agenda, but certainly I have no free speech in that area. But I think she's an Hispanic. She's definitely not white, but it didn't help her at all. She was a college student, and she made a joke about Netanyahu, and it was really a ridiculous joke where she said something like "send bonbons." She didn't say "send bombs." I mean, it was a dumb joke. It wasn't funny, but she's in court. She could be subject to be charged with a felony, and the judge was a typical non-Irish judge, and that's my code word. And this is the same non-Irish judge who recently had a black career criminal in there who did everything but get down on her knees in front of him and just talk to him so sweetly, like this guy was the gentlest, not a violent career criminal, and let him off with a pat on the wrist. But to this guy, he was a college student who made a lame joke. Oh, she was all dead seriousness. And did everything to bring the firing squad out. That's what we're up against. And these are the people that are put. That's why the court system is completely useless. So for anybody who talks about we can win in court, well, not unless you get the 1 in 100, maybe, that judge that you might have a chance in front of. Most of them are hopeless. Yes, they are. The corrupt blue are definitely. The system is corrupt. And again, it's a policing for profit. Change it, reform it. That's why I do believe in defunding the police, defunding this police. But you need to get rid of asset forfeitures, unconstitutional. It's horrible, and it's allowed. It runs on that. It runs on the quoted ticket quotas. But no, nobody's doing anything. Kenny F. Brown says, "The only troop I ever support is Tony Arterburg. Truly a good man." Peter Seacott says Tony is awesome. Tony, you got fans, and he certainly is. Good to see Ashley. Good to see you think change, repeat. Good to see you here. Absolute immunity. Yep. Shouldn't mayor of LA be fired for no water during LA fires? Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, they don't even. No one even questions it. How do you run out of water when you're sitting next to the Pacific Ocean, the largest body of water in the world, and you have had desalination plants for decades? I mean, again, this is why I say it's not just corruption. It's incompetence that is incomprehensible. And now insanity is the third ingredient because a lot of these people are insane. Catherine said, only when they throw someone under the bus for sure, Clinton body count or Weinstein and made some. Yeah, if they get punished, you know it was designed that way. That's assuming something like I don't think Weinstein's really been punished, but I think that's just for sure when he's being probably taken to the same desert island Jeffrey Epstein is. Um, let's see. KMCC, the four-star general now Raising Cane was the guy who was in charge of the military plane exercise and all. Yeah, Raising Cane. Yeah, so he was it. Raising Cane's story is that he stopped Trump and Stein from doing it's ridiculous for the name Raising Cane. That's I guess is that better than Mad Dog Mattis? I don't know. They're both pretty dumb. All right, this phone was driving me crazy. Kenny Pepper said, "Never, never trust any." Look, I'm a law-abiding guy. I'm not a troublemaker, but I've had very few encounters with law enforcement because I do everything I can to avoid them. I tense up if I see a car behind me. I automatically start getting nervous and probably start going over the line or something because I hate them. I absolutely hate them. I know what they can do. They can destroy your life. No good comes of any kind. That's why the conspiracy people say, and I hope all of you follow that. Whatever problem you have at home or whatever, never, ever call the police because they never make things better. Be lucky if you survive the shooting, your dog does or whatever. Um, yeah, Peter Seacrest, yes, right. They literally chopped up his couch and took pieces of cloth. That was the good Union boys who freed the slaves. Forget that. They also played this sadistic game with a little girl where they took her doll and were basically playing keep away with it. It's like well, I guess they didn't rape her, so I'll give them credit for that, I guess. But I mean, that's which they have been known to do. But these are just light-hearted people, and these are the good guys. Uh, good to see you. We were in 1984. Joseph Pistols, California's permanent rapid mail-in voting. Yeah, so we have mail-in voting. The dead are going to reign supreme, and it's an open invitation to it. White Bush says voting's worthless, just a free Masonic ritual. Yeah, probably it is. Yeah. Twisted Pits. My neighbors are cops, man. And, I'd season tickets to the Caps game, not games with a cop. Nicest guy in the world, but he can't change the system. He can't change I don't know what he would be what he'd be like if he wasn't my friend. I coached little league baseball many years ago with a cop and nicest guy in the world. But I don't. Would he have been nice if he didn't know me on the road? I don't know. When they're trying to get your quota system. Thank you, Kenny. UYY says, don't open your door to police, and sometimes you have to call. Yeah, you definitely don't. But of course, you run the risk if you don't open your door, they'll just start you, and they'll barge in. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm going to put the link in here. I'm putting the link in the. So anybody who wants to jump in, you want to. Oddman 5 says, I love you, Don. Well, that's great. I love you too. Appreciate you being here. Okay, so we had the link there. So anybody that wants to jump in, whatever you want to discuss, we're just, kind of, those who came in late, we had a last minute cancellation, which has been kind of my tradition for a long time. And she's a nice guest. I'm going to try to have her on next Friday. I think, she was apologetic about it and felt bad, but I mean, it happens, I don't know. It, this game, I'm still seething from, it's probably been 2 or 3 years ago. I was supposed to be on this. I don't know if any of you guys know. Is it Rob? Let me look and see what that guy's name was. It's called the X Zone. The X Zone with Rob McConnell. I don't know if any of you have heard of that, but I think I was on it before. But anyhow, they wanted me to be on the show, so I set up an appearance. Showed up it was like 10 o'clock at night. It wasn't the most convenient time. Nobody ever came on, and so I emailed and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And nobody replied. Next day, they finally replied and said, "Hey, what link did you click on?" So I said, "Well, the only link I got." That was the last I heard. I emailed them subsequently about a week apart saying, "I can't believe that you asked me to be on your show. You didn't show up, and you've never provided an explanation. Even when I contacted you, no, I'm sorry. No explanation. Is this the way you treat your guests?" So they can't forget things like that. So needless to say, I will never be on the Rob McConnell show, the X with Rob McConnell. So any of you have listened to that, I don't know what kind of people are there, but it's inexcusable. That is just so impolite. Okay, we have White Wolf. What about my prediction of who's going to come on? WW, how you doing?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Oh, okay. Well, I've been reading Michael Irving's book, Churchill's War. Have you ever read that one?
I read David Irving. Yeah, I read that a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay. Well, David Irving just had no idea what he was dealing with, or he would have dug a lot deeper in some places. But it's obvious that Churchill was just basically stage managing the war. Between him and Hitler, especially the invasion of France in 1940, in the spring of 1940, that appears to have all been stage managed, which has been my suspicion all along. But the British never really engaged the Germans after the invasion of France. They just stood there in their prepared positions, and then about 2 weeks later, that they withdrew 50 miles back towards the beaches and the coastline of France. And the Belgians at that point said, "Well, if the British aren't going to fight, we're going to surrender." And so the Belgians were out of the war, and that basically left just the French army fighting the Germans. And also, Churchill would not give the French any help from the Royal Air Force. The French were constantly asking for support from the Royal Air Force in order to fend off the Luftwaffe, and they just simply didn't get it. And then after France capitulated, the British actually attacked the French fleet, and because they were afraid of the French fleet falling into the hands of the Germans. That seemed to be Churchill's biggest concern.
What are your WW? What are your thoughts on? Because I get a lot of people that follow me that like Hitler, that think Hitler was a good guy. I've tried to point out, Hitler. There's a book, Wall Street and the Rise of Hitler, with Professor Anthony Sutton, and I don't know why, but I understand because our side was so bad, and so you want to believe maybe maybe he was right. What are your thoughts on Hitler?
Okay, well, Hitler is a real enigma. Okay, because yes, he did do a lot of good things, and he did galvanize Europe against the Bolsheviks, which were really the main enemy of Europe at the time, and and every country in Europe sent troops, okay, in order to help out with Operation Barbarossa, including England and including Ireland. And a lot of people don't know that. And but Hitler was also obviously being stage managed. It made no sense, for example, for Hitler to bomb England. He never had any intention of invading England, and what he should have done was simply inaugurated a unilateral ceasefire, even though the British were continuing to bomb the Ruhr. And he should have just simply protected the German homeland, but he shouldn't have dropped any bombs on England. And I think
why did he invade? Why did he invade Russia? The Soviet Union? And didn't he read about Napoleon? I mean, that's what lost the war.
Well, Napoleon actually conquered Russia. What most people don't know is that Napoleon actually conquered Moscow and forced the Russian government to withdraw north to St. Petersburg.
Hmm.
But Napoleon's stupidity lay in the fact that he never supplied his troops, okay, in order to survive over the Russian winter. And also, he had spread his army too thin, not only trying to conquer Russia, but also trying to conquer the Middle East. And
Hmm.
so Napoleon, it wasn't so much the Russians that beat Napoleon. It
Hmm.
was it was basically his own stupidity in the Russian winter. But as far as Hitler was concerned, that wasn't even really a problem because there was no reason why during Operation Barbarossa the Russian tanks could not have been in Moscow by August the 15th, 1941. There's absolutely no reason that the Russian armies had just absolutely collapsed. Uh, the Germans and all their allies were advancing unopposed. The, uh, the only thing that the Russians could count on was that they were getting massive aid from the United States at the time via the Alaskan Highway and the Trans-Siberian Railway.
Yeah, well, and with WW, this is a great, and it's an interesting subject. But let's consider. And guys, really, I put the link in there. I love WW, but let's have some other people too. Some of this, I'd like to meet more of you or see some more of you in here. You don't have to be on video. You can be on audio like White Wolf is. But let's see, what we're talking about, and that's history is the past is prologue. So this is all that's
Well,
all
this is all
important.
very important because it's
Mm.
relevant to today. We're looking at
Yeah.
World War III, and that's being stage managed too. Obviously, the Iranians and Trump and Putin are all taking orders from the same gang of people. And
Hmm.
because nothing really makes sense. I mean, why would the Iranians trust the Americans and be negotiating with them, for instance? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
No, no, you're right. It is. And it is. It's just to make, and then but I think, don't you agree that the fact that they haven't, because they've been talking about World War III for so long, and it seems like they want that because they need to keep weeding the population out. This is what they do, and
well, yeah.
but they haven't because, and I think it's because they really can't, at least for America, and it could have the same situation in a lot of the other countries that I think that they've created with their experimentations in food and water. They've got men now with such low levels of testosterone. I don't think they could, unless they just want sacrificial lambs, I don't think they could come up with any kind of credible army at this point.
Oh, I agree, but the problem goes deeper than just the poisoning of the food supply and so on and so forth. The the main problem is spiritual, and that there was a time when the Catholic Church used to be the spiritual leader of the world, but that was lobotomized by Vatican II, and all of this social gospel nonsense, and it's not very good at producing warriors. It's not very good at producing people that will fight for Christendom, that will fight to preserve its integrity against its enemies. Our enemies at this point seem more determined than what we are. Americans just simply want their sports ball and their Hollywood movies and and their alcohol and so on and so forth.
And
And
that's why I said I'm a populist, so I want to be a people's champion. I love them. Okay, God bless them, even though they infuriate me sometimes. But you have to accept some responsibility. Just like if you're a battered spouse, if you stay for so long, I mean, you have to bear some responsibility, don't you, for staying?
oh, I
This
totally agree. Yeah, yeah.
to put
It
you. I mean,
takes two to tango, as they used to say.
yes, and they haven't lobotomized us. But we still have the ability to critically think. Yeah, you're going to have to flux that brain. I know it's hard. Any kind of exercise is hard, but you're going to have to just. It's something like if they really throw this phantom around. I don't think most of the time it's a head fake with these things. The monkey virus is, but after COVID, who knows? because they who knows what they're going to do. But if they do this again and they use the same kind of and they have the same guy, Trumpenstein, Fauci's missing, but Trumpenstein's there. If they do this again and we fall for it again, and I know at least a lot of people will, not as many, but enough people will, then who's to blame but us? Who's to blame? At some point, why is anybody still voting? Now, the problem is that if we all stopped voting, they're not going to report that. They're just going to claim they won't even claim there's fewer people voting because the idea is public relations. And of course, they have, they can just get more dead people to vote, I guess. But we have to bear some responsibility to stop participating in our destruction.
Oh, well, I agree. And one way people can stop participating in their destruction is to spend much less time on the internet and get out there and react with real people in real situations. You see, if people can discover what's going on in their own neighborhoods at this point, they'll discover that America has basically become a prison. I mean, you were talking about the cops earlier, and they act more like prison wardens now than they do cops. And that should be the giveaway.
I told them when I wrote about them last year, but I said the occupying army of the state, they're an occupying army. That's what they are, and they're unquestioned. When you have a situation, we talked about I was talking about the school boards when we were trying to just rein in these school boards at that level. Every time one of those tyrants, the poor guy that came in after a transgender guy raped his daughter in the school bathroom, and they beat him down and arrested him. When the tyrant ordered the cop to do that, the cop with a conscience would sit there and say, "What am I doing? This is something. I'm going to go after this guy who has the audacity to complain about his daughter being raped in your school bathroom."
Right.
Because you allowed this monstrosity to be there, but instead they obey every time. I've never seen the cops say, "No, I'm not going to do that." Never. If you guys
I agree. Well, that's a bad career move, and that's what everybody's interested in is their careers and their pensions.
Yeah.
Which soon aren't going to amount to a hill of beans. But what I would ask parents is, why don't you just withdraw your children from those schools? I was asking that years ago. I remember when the sex ed programs came in the 70s, and they were just horrible.
Well, you're right.
Horrible.
But the problem, WW, is that, and more people are, and I would have to find a way to do it now, I think, if our kids were young. But the problem is financially, when you have 70-some% of the people living paycheck to paycheck, you can't do it. You need two paychecks, and so you don't have the choice, because how are you going to do it? And that's
I think people would be amazed if they would just put their trust in the Lord God, how His providence would support them, and they would find ways to cut costs. And if push comes to shove, just stop paying your taxes.
That's what and I've been assured that I can do it.
50% of the people in any given school district just overnight decided that they weren't going to pay taxes anymore. What could they do? They can't throw everybody in jail.
No, you're right. But the problem is that, again, because of the withholding tax, they've taken care of most of that, where you have no choice. If you work for somebody, it's taken out. Now, if I was doing real estate full time, something like people that do that, they can do that. Because they have nothing with.
That's why concurrently also getting quote unquote off the grid is important. You have to depend upon your local economy, and these sheeple jobs like real estate and being a lawyer and so on and so forth, being a school teacher, they're all going to disappear, and we're going to have a much more rudimentary economy, but we're all going to be better off for it. And what people need to understand is that it doesn't take years to turn the thing around. It takes maybe 6 months. We can go back to talking about the Austrian painter, but like, for example, the German economic miracle that turned their country around from hyperinflation to a prosperous country in just like 6 months or so. It's
Right.
like, how did they do it? They freed up the local economies.
Yep.
That's all it
No,
really takes.
if
Deregulation.
Hitler, if Hitler had if Hitler had died in 1938, he would be lauded as Germany's greatest leader. He was Time magazine man. If he had never invaded Poland before he did that, he didn't really get that bad a press outside of some of the Jews in Hollywood. But he had accomplished so many great things because the German Depression was much worse than ours. And
Well,
people,
yeah, I totally agree. And it was all by design. The the uh, the elites, the Jews, whatever you want to call them, they know how to destroy an economy, but they also know how to make an economy prosper. They certainly
Mhm.
did the same thing to America in the 1950s after the war.
Yeah, no, and that's and we're having a discussion in the chat that's going on, and this fascinates me too. Again, and this is on a visceral level, this on the individual level. One thing that irritates me, and it really irks me when I say hello to somebody or say hi to somebody and they don't say hi back. I got to control myself, but I've always been that way because in my life, never, it would never anybody that says that greets me, it's it's instinctive, it's automatic. No, of course you respond. But there are people that look at you and I just think, what's going on in your mind? You don't know me, so you don't have anything against me, I don't think. But why would you not? It's just it's again, it's civility. And if we can't get that, that shows probably why we can't come together. If you, it's decorum, exactly,
I,
Ashley.
well,
It's just
I
one.
totally agree that they want us divided.
Yeah, they
I
do.
mean, I'm a traditional Catholic, and I see that in traditional Catholicism more than anywhere else. The division, I mean, just the nitpicking over details and so on and so forth, and how they divide us into camps and they have us attacking each other when what we should be doing is just simply building communities.
Absolutely. We got RB Ham, the great Canadian trucker. Hold on. Let me see here. How you doing, brother?
Hey guys, how you doing?
There's the fighting Canadian up there. What's going on? He's off for a few weeks, so he's gonna have an emergency podcast tonight, special one,
Yeah,
10 p.m. I'll be on there, beyond the pale account. How you doing, buddy?
doing good. Yeah, we'll be talking about Trump's the Trumpenstein project pivot to Beijing and what happened there and what it means. We'll be having Salim Mansour on also to talk about it. I think it's getting downplayed a lot what this actually means for the world because I think it kind of reveals a lot about what's actually going on. 'Cause we kind of like live in a one world order system already, and I
Yeah,
think this kind of shows it.
Oh yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
reminiscent of Nixon's trip to China in '72, for he got great press for that. Nixon, and I remember at the time even thinking, why is this such a big deal? But so here you have. This is what it's come full, and Trump will probably get credit for this in the New York Times and place like that. Again, this is winning in the Trumpenstein world. He went to China. Oh, you realize it much better, right? Because they're just sickening. 500,000 Chinese students agreeing to have the Chinese build factories here and not have us build them. So I think he'll be pronouncing China correctly from now on, I'm guessing.
Well, it's kind of revealing because remember when Nixon went in 1972, that was the beginning of the détente to open up because American businessmen, multinational businessmen and banksters said, "Hey, there's a billion people over there we could use, right, for cheap labor," and
Slave
so
labor.
that was the beginning of selling out the North American working class. Breaking up our unions, breaking up our middle class, sending all our jobs overseas for pennies on the dollar. And so when people say that China is our enemy, well, I mean, somebody please tell Donald Trump and his bankster friends that because they're busy kowtowing to them at all times and in all ways. Remember during Biden's administration, there was that scandal about him getting contracts there, sending his son over there as a proxy for him, his brother as a proxy for them, making all these deals. Okay, so Republicans were justly just horrified about that. Well, Trump's doing the same thing now. Where's your horror now, right?
Yeah, no
Well,
question about it.
if I could expand on what R.B. Ham said, okay, Nixon's visit to China was a major push to setting up the New World Order
Absolutely.
because yes, exactly as you said, that happened in this country too, especially in the later 70s. There was a whole bevy of like OSHA regulations and new corporate taxes and everything else, and so companies were encouraged essentially to shift their operations overseas, and that's what the opening to China was all about. As you said, yeah, those billion Chinese workers, they'll ride a bicycle to work. That they don't have all the infrastructure that we have. That they don't have to worry about paying car insurance and so on and so forth, and so they really don't need that big a wage. And so they produce all this stuff, and it comes back to our country dirt cheap, and then it's marked up with the tariffs and everything else, and the American taxpayer is not only paying taxes on the junk to the U.S. government, but they're paying taxes to the Chinese government, and then of course the Chinese system is the model for the New World Order. Mayo and his 5-year plans, that was the beta test to how to control society.
Okay, we got Joseph entering the studio. Joseph, how you doing?
Hi, guys.
What's up? What's on your mind?
I had a question for you, Don, about the late John Barber.
Sure.
I'm not really familiar with his career as far as TV or media. And if you had to recommend anything to me to check out, do you have anything to recommend?
Well, if you can, he's most known for Real People because I think that was on for 3 or 4 years. It was #1 show on television from like 79 to 81 or something like that. And so that's what he's most known for. He was the host of that, and that was his baby. It's kind of a populist show. It talks about, actual real people across the country that, have special talents or interests or whatever. It's an interesting show. He's called the Godfather of reality TV because of that. But you can see some of them, I think, on YouTube. But it never, because it was a topical show. It really couldn't be good in syndication or reruns. So he kind of suffered from that because so people can get to know him subsequent generations. That's what he's in terms of television now. But I think his greatest legacy is his work on the JFK assassination, which is brought to me, and he was the only person to interview Jim Garrison after the Shaw trial. So he put out a couple of great documentaries. One is the Garrison tapes, which came out right about the same time as Oliver Stone's 1991 film. Great documentary. And then even better is the one that came subsequently, but 2017 or something, which was the American Media and the Second Assassination of John F. Kennedy, which is, I think, the best documentary ever on the subject. So those are, I think, his best legacy. But he's got, you can go on. I was watching listening to his comedy album, It's Tough to Be White, the other, Jim Princeton. It was me. Somebody was, God, what show is that? I did several, retrospectives on him. So one of the shows played clips of that, but he was a stand-up comic. And Dick Gregory wrote the liner notes for that. So he had all these people. Frank Sinatra's personal writer. Fascinating connections. So for him to be such close friends with somebody like me, it was. So you can find the tons of interviews he did, and he did a lot with me. We did a lot of interviews together. So if you search for those, there's a bunch of them out there. And so you can. I'm not sure what would be best, but you'll get the flavor of the man. He was always very interesting and informed.
Thank you. What was the name of the first documentary you mentioned?
The Garrison tapes.
Garrison tapes. All right, good. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
I'm just going to hang.
Okay, sure, of course. RBIT posted to tune in tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Oh, 8 p.m. I thought it was 10 p.m. RB.
Yeah, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, you put 8 p.m. in the chat.
That's my time. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, it's you. Okay, so it's Canadian time. But
yeah, from now on, I'm going to be doing the show at 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. my time, because it won't interfere as much with the goings on here at home. My wife hates it when I do a 6 o'clock our time show because that's right.
Sure, it's right during dinner. Yeah, sure. Of course. I know my show is, why I picked 5 to 7 p.m. I don't know. It's pretty much during the dinner hour, but that's kind of what it's always been. But for whatever reason, I picked that time.
It's a drive home.
What's that?
It's a drive home for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, there. Yes. It's kind of like, yeah. There you go. So it's instead of drive on the radio, you can listen. I guess a lot of people can listen in the car on this stuff now. But Robin Lee says the company lost 2 plants in southern U.S. to China in the 90s, thanks to NAFTA over the years. The Chinese government. Again, this is one of his keystones, foundation of what he ran on, these terrible trade deals, and the fact that how many times did he talk about China and all this stuff? And then he goes there, and it's one thing to be diplomatic. That's fine with people. I think we should have, diplomacy with everyone. But he's getting bent over just like all the people were before him that he made fun of.
Well, he explicitly ran on bringing manufacturing back. He explicitly ran on getting rid of all these bad trade deals. He's done exactly the opposite. Look who he took over with him to China, all the big tech overlords and all the big business and multinational people who are all beholden to China and their rare earth supply. And he didn't even come back with a rare earth deal. He didn't even make that deal. That's what Elon was there for. He was on his hands and knees to Xi saying, please, we need access to your rare earth materials to keep our economy going over here. And Xi just said, well, we'll talk about it. We'll table that for a further meeting. And now Xi Jinping is coming to America. I think they said in late June, I guess, he's doing a return visit. And I wonder how much of the red carpet will be rolled out for the Chinese then, and when will people wake up to that? Because here in Canada, Mark Carney has basically said we're pivoting away from the United States and we're moving towards China and the multipolar world.
Now we got Twisted Pistol entering this thing. Did you see Twisted Pistols? What's going on, brother? Twisted Pistol.
Man, I've been trying to call in earlier. We're running 14 miles in this Houston weather. I'm cramping up everywhere. But
oh man,
how you guys doing? You were talking about this subject with Trump and China, and I've been watching a lot of neocon news lately, and watch a lot of Jewish media and stuff, and I'm trying to figure out, let me just see what they think. I think we're in a world war right now with China. It looks like we're taking their oil in Venezuela. We're attempting to take it in Iran, and then when I really look into it, it's like, I'm against this 100%, but now that Trump's in it, if the U.S. loses in this situation, do any of you guys think that's good or bad? Or, I mean, it's kind of like we have to win because our dollar, and I don't know. I just trying to chime in here. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Anybody else's thought? Anybody else in?
Well, I have a few thoughts. First of all, China doesn't need Venezuela oil, nor do they need oil from Iran going through the Strait of Hormuz. China can get oil from Iran over land by pipeline, and they can also get plenty of oil from Russia. But the other thing is that as far as rare earths are concerned, what does China have that we don't have as far as rare earths?
They have slaves.
Yeah, I mean, we have all the rare earths that we need. In fact, China gets all their uranium out of Utah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, the last time I was in Utah, I mean, this is one of the best kept secrets, but there's Chinese all over the LaSalle Mountains and South Mountain and I forget what the range further west is called. They're all over there mining uranium. It's all Chinese. You can see the trucks. You can see everything. And that's I mean, I go out there. Okay, I've been all over the country and I see all this stuff, and it's like that's one of the reasons why I know that everything is fake and gay to the third power, because I've seen it for myself. I've seen these big underground facilities that they have. I mean, that's not science fiction or conspiracy theory. I've been in them.
Do you think that Trump, or not Trump, just the establishment, are they trying to save the dollar, or like, because
No. At this point, we're witnessing the controlled demolition of the American empire. Just like the British Empire was destroyed by Winston Churchill during World War II, the American empire will be destroyed by Donald Trump in the next 2 years.
Yeah, no, I think that with the data centers or that, I don't think there's any. It looks to me like the only reason they're doing that is because they want digitalized currencies. I think they want to destroy everything, and unfortunately, the social credit score that'll go along with it. So me and everybody listening to this show or watching this show, you're going to be in danger of being a thought criminal, and you might not have easy access to what little money they're going to let you have. That's
I'm completely off the grid, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't have a bank account. I don't have nothing.
Well, you're one of a kind. Did you say you live off $8 a month or something? I don't know what the hell you're doing.
How do you pay for internet?
I don't pay for internet. I basically inherited this whole setup from my mother when she died 5 years ago. And when this ancient 2010 Chromebook that I'm using finally peters out, I mean it's getting pretty bad. It takes about 20 seconds for a website to load, and
how'd you inherit the service?
How did I inherit the service?
Yeah, I want to know, because I want free internet.
Oh yeah, it's basically run from the server next door. And the only way I get internet is I have to sit in the closet and be close to the radiation.
Well, that's one way to get off the grid.
Oh yeah,
Get on your neighbor's grid.
WW is fascinating. When he used to come on a video, it looked to me like you were in the back of a store. And did you say you work with the Amish or something? Aren't you right next to the Amish or something too?
Oh yeah, I do odd jobs for everybody around here in the neighborhood, and and it's like, as far as the food supply is concerned, I've got enough food to last for at least a year, so I'm not worried about that. And I've got a garden going this year, and I've got chickens, and you'd be surprised really how little food you need to live on once the body adapts, and you can be happy and healthy, and you don't need all the crap that you get at Walmart. And of course, at the Golden Arches, that food is fake and gay to the third power. I mean, I don't even know why people would even go there.
Well, do you remember that movie Supersized? They came out, and I remember when my kids were small then, and so I made sure we watched it together. Because,
hey, I heard that guy lied in that movie or that documentary.
Well, his name was, God, I forget his name. Hopefully somebody in the chat knows, but he was my friend on Facebook for a while. And I don't know if the movie was legit or not, because the premise of the movie is that he ate nothing but McDonald's food for a month. 3 meals a day. So, and he ate the yogurt stuff and the salads and everything. So he ate everything on the menu. He rotated. Morgan Fairluck, or what was it?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw something on YouTube that said that it was fake, that he lied.
But the thing about it is at the end of the month, he went to the doctor and told him he had liver failure. I mean, it damaged him so badly. So, and it had an impact on my kids for a while anyway. So they didn't want any happy. Spurlock, yes, Spurlock. Thank you, Morgan Spurlock. But anyhow, a few years ago, he suddenly died, and I don't know if it was from boosters, vaccine, probably, but I don't. It was one of those ones where they didn't really give a reason. But I always thought it was. I don't know anybody who knows anything about that. Very, very bizarre. But that was if that film was real, what it says about McDonald's food, and we've heard the stories about Happy Meals that have been preserved for decades.
Yeah. Well, I was walking the dog one time, and somebody threw some McDonald's French fries out of their car.
Yeah, dogs won't eat them.
And about 6 days later, after a rainstorm, they had just disintegrated to this yellow powder.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's awful stuff, and once in a while, I guess but I mean, when you try to live off it, so that it's an interesting movie, especially what happened to him. It actually they say it was liver failure from alcoholism. I don't know, who knows? I mean, they say a lot of stuff. I don't trust anything they say. Good to see you, Linda Craig.
It's interesting that you have that info, White Wolf. What I asked a little earlier, because I don't, I try to see all sides. I watch Democracy Now. I watch Conspiracy. I watch neocon stuff, and I'm trying to see the positive what's going on in the country. But Trump goes to China, and I'm like searching for some positivity. It looked like he took a big L, and I was like, you kind of went there for no reason. You went there, you're kissing G's butt, and G never reciprocated that. He didn't even meet him at the tarmac. He, like he left. It's kind of. But if you watch neocon media, they're talking like it's a victory. If you watch liberal leftists, they say it's a loss.
Well, yeah. Well, Don knows I think everything is fake and gay. As far as I'm concerned, it's all kabuki theater.
That's what you and DeSantis keep telling me. You two say it all the time. I don't know.
But I tend to believe that it's a real beef. There's something there, because when Miller and G made eye contact, that he stared him down, and I was like, whoa, that was kind of, it was like G was like very upset with Stephen Miller or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think it's all theater. It's all theater.
See, because I've been a conspiracy theorist since '92, Oliver Stone. But what I'm saying is, like, there's a part of me that's like going a little like Billy's gone, but not 100%. But it's kind of like there's got to be some real stuff. We're really dropping bombs. They're bombing back. I mean,
well, yeah.
And like my whole thing is like, what if, whether it's Trump or Biden or whatever, what if this is like a last ditch effort to save that powerful dollar? And it's just like, because these are bold moves that Trump did. And I don't even like saying Trump, because I look at it as just the establishment. And they went over there to Iran. And then I watched some of the Zionist news, and they say that the high gas prices are good for retirees and the stock market and oil companies, and that
and it's good for the electric cars and Elon Musk and all of that.
Yeah. No, it's you search for that. There is no. I don't see any positives anywhere, and I hate to do it because the positive still is the people. As Orwell said in 1984. If you haven't read 1984, I haven't read it for. I'll read it again because it's very instructive now. We are the proles. We are the proles. The proles in Orwell's. He said they could have overthrown the big brother in the party like a horse can shake off flies. That's all they had to do, but they couldn't do it. And he has scenes there where they're distracted, fighting with each other over sports and the lottery and beer. Exact same type of stuff. And that's what they got worked up about. That's what we see today. We can't. It's insane. It's like one little, one little tiny person in the middle of a playground, bossing around a bunch of giants and making them do whatever he wants, and they're just all scared to fight back. We outnumber them by the hundreds of millions, and we're so dumbed down and unwilling to act that we can't. How can you come together? All we'd have to do is marches on every city in America, hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, marching everywhere. What would get their attention? What are they going to do? Drop a nuclear weapon on themselves? That's the only way you're going to have to physically march hundreds of thousands and go down and remove the people from Congress. If you can't vote them out, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to remove the Supreme Court. You're going to have to remove those federal judges.
Well, okay, but what do you replace it with?
Well, that's the point.
Catholic theocracy.
Yeah, and what happens
the
is
Articles of Confederation.
If
you do that, then whoever goes in there knows they're subject to that too. If you've been tarred, I wouldn't mind seeing bring back tar and feathering. If that happens, then okay. Well, maybe we can't keep doing this. We can't keep lining our pockets and voting against the interests of the people constantly and screwing them over. We can't do that. But until they do this, and I'd like to see again March when every CEO that lays off 10,000 people at Christmas time while he got a $40 million Christmas. That's why I said that guy that shot that's why so many people sympathize the guy that shot the medical executive. Because so many people have been screwed over by those people. I'm not saying that should happen, but I wouldn't mind seeing people march in those offices, the people that do that, and take them out in the streets and tar and feather them.
Yeah, well,
$40 million,
personally,
40 million.
personally, I think it's all gonna burn to the ground in the next 3 years.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm looking at. Yeah,
I just want to go
it's
back
going
to
get that bad.
2016.
It's really going to get that bad. The wrath of God is descending upon us.
Well, something's
We
going to
just
have
not
to happen
see it.
because Trump, as I said, Trump was created. I think it's a Trump-side project. He was created to tap into that populism. He made so many promises to get people so
Oh,
excited,
oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
obviously, but again, what has happened is that he's still got his cult, but it's not many. It's they're in positions of power, but it's a minority of his support, no question
Oh,
about it.
I agree, but it's like Nazi Germany. You only need about 8 to 15% of the people in the party to support it to control the rest of the population.
Yeah, well, even our revolution, we had when we broke away from Britain, but the problem there, we had 1%ers doing it. John Hancock and Adams and those people, George Washington, Jefferson, they were all 1%ers. They're all very wealthy. They
Oh,
were the
I agree, and they
they were
were
the
all
revolutionaries.
a Freemasonic cabal, and I actually believe that the American Revolution was planned and plotted on both sides of the Atlantic.
So,
Well,
so you know Tim Kelly and
yes, I've been on Tim
Pete.
Kelly's show many times.
Yeah, you know he's a super intelligent man, and Pete Quinones. They talk about how there's never been a revolution in human history by the people. It's always been amongst elite, just manipulating different groups of people,
Yep.
including the American Revolution. So they kind of, not so much Tim Kelly, but he has a lot of guests that push this. They advocate for backing a certain group of elites in our country to push for this revolution change that you're talking about, Don, because they say that if you think the people are going to change it, it's not going to happen. You need to get the elites and get and push them. And these guys, as crazy as it sounds, they are like real pro Teal type of people. Like they like Elon, they like that little, and it's kind of crazy, but
yeah, well,
according to these guys, that's the only change we have hope for. They say that people like Don need to infiltrate the system the way the far left did it, back in the past, and that you have to work from within.
You're right. You're right. But the problem is that, again, I think that's why I've said when Trump entered the system, that would be the only kind of change we could get. You saw it with Ross Perot. Is that because the system is, that's why people like AOC are completely frauds, because no waitress can possibly run for Congress. That just would never happen in a million. I don't care. It doesn't matter what she's saying. She could be it's impossible. The system doesn't allow outsiders, somebody's average working people. But when you have Ross Perot, when he decided to run, and they promoted because he was a billionaire. Trump is a billionaire. So I said at the time, okay, this is about the only thing we can hope for is a renegade billionaire. Maybe. And that's why I said, okay, Trump is saying Roger Stone was one of the first people to like my book and wrote the foreword to Hidden History, and talked to him on the phone, and he was telling me about how great Trump was, and he knows about all the conspiracies. He would love your book and all this stuff. And I said, well, I don't know. This way he said, he bought it his time. He saw so many things behind the scenes that he didn't like. Now he wants to, do something to help his country and to help his children. So I'm thinking, well, it's possible that, somebody could maybe have a conscience and at some point say, well, I've had enough. Now I want to try to do something. But obviously that wasn't the case. But you can't, that's why I say it doesn't matter what Hitler was. We're told he got up on the beer hall tables and everything. He was a rabble rouser. He was just a lowly painter. It'd be nice if that kind of stuff can happen, but it can't. There's always somebody behind them, because otherwise nobody mentions. I wish it was, but again, the only way it could happen is again with numbers. If you have millions of people together all over the country, but they're not going to do it unless somebody tells them to do it. That's the problem. People are followers.
We're really divided as well. Like even the alternative media, the conspiracy, even we fight amongst each other. Like we're supposed to be all on the same team.
The whole media's yes, and nobody thinks anybody's legit. I mean, that's why I'm not blackpilling because I know. Look, I had I had what's her name? I don't get with names. A woman I went on couple of weeks ago. I was talking about Candace Owens. I got to have her back on.
Oh,
But
I remember.
you know that she's done the same kind of research on Candace Owens that Candace Owens did on Erica Kirk, and found the exact same thing. Duda, Debbie, what is her name? Dana Duda. Sorry about that. Yeah, but it you know, she talked about Candace had lied about her background, same kind of things Erica did. So, well, and maybe everybody's that way. I don't know. And Tucker Carlson, we know nobody trusts him. And to me, Tucker Carlson seems really sincere, and his story is believable. Where he admits he used to, you know, condemn 9/11, you know, truthers and all that stuff, and his father worked for the CIA and all that, and he's much like Pat Buchanan. Remember Pat Buchanan? I think Pat Buchanan was sincere. Pat Buchanan was a Nixon loyalist, and he ran for president, and he went up in New Hampshire, and he had a sea change when he met all those you know, workers that were out of work because of the bad trade deals, and he became a populist. It transformed him. Plus, he was, you know, he was a truther on Israel back then. So, you know, I think that you can have. I hope that those people are legitimate. I think they are.
You
And
know,
you know, I don't.
if we start starving, that's the only time men are going to come out of their house with their guns
Yeah.
and say that's it. As long as they keep us with some food and some running water, I don't think we're going to stand. Look at 2020. I was just shocked that so many people bowed down, and it wasn't about if it's a virus or
Me
not.
too.
It was just about the government telling you what to do because you wanted to buy bread. I was in Los
Yeah.
Angeles. I was like kicked out of stores, and people who knew me and talked to me all the time suddenly just they would have put me on a train if the trains were coming into town
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
LA. And I was just like shocked. And then I realized like it's like, oh my God, we are never going to be able to unite like I, you know, thought in my head. So that's where I decided. I said I'm going to go to a place where there's a bunch of Christians and where they're, you know, way the opposite of LA. And so I came to Texas, and I get friends that text me about the gas prices in California, and I go, you know what? I'm in Texas. It's like I'm in a different country compared to what they're dealing with in California. And
California is definitely a different country. It always has been.
yeah,
Yeah.
Even back
it's
in the
bad. I can't.
80s, California was a different country.
There's no.
I remember you're on the interstate and you encounter the California Fruit Patrol. Do you remember that?
The fruits and nuts out there,
RB
man.
or Joseph, you guys have any thoughts, Dad?
Well, I was just going to say about the what we were talking about before, what the one world order government we're already under. I think we've been under it for quite some time, and I think, like White Wolf was saying, a lot of this stuff is just theatrics and charades. And sure, the wars are real, but they're managed, and they're meant for nobody to win them. They're meant to be continuous because that's how you make money. The military-industrial complex makes money on continuous wars. So it's just like Orwell's predicted in his. He didn't actually. I don't think Orwell was predicting anything. He was just reporting on the state of the world that he knew about because through his.
Orwell was giving us all the spoiler alerts for the next 40 years after 1984.
Exactly. So when he said that the war is meant to be continuous and not meant to be won, he was correct, and he said that the elite actually, when you have a dissident movement or a revolutionary spark or anything that might be created, they swoop in undercover wise and take over that movement and run it how they see fit, so they can weed out the real threats before they get any bolder, right? Like for instance, how did they remember the FBI with COINTELPRO and the CIA with Operation Chaos and all that stuff? They come in and they snuff out that revolutionary spark and steer it the way they want to. And that's what we're living through right now. So like that no kings movement, that's great. We're in the street. We don't want any kings, all that stuff, but there's no demand for improving anything. It's not a real anti-war movement.
It only applies to Trump. I mean, there's people, they're obsessed. They're upset at his personality. So they think they've made a victory if I guess they get him out and JD Vance as president. It's stupid. Yeah, no more kings. It should be. And we got BRV in the studio. What's up?
Hey, Billy, what's up? Couple of things. And then I'm gonna bow out. It's been a fun show. The No Kings protest, there's definitely people that are, it's not just against anti-Trump, it's against authoritarianism. They don't give a damn. And this is what happens here when we're wrapped up in a bubble like we are here. We believe what we want to believe and what's fed to us. They don't give a damn if it's a Democrat. They don't give a damn about any of this stuff. Sure, it just so happens to be Trump that brought this out in people. But there are millions and millions and millions of people on the street. And might I add, they're peaceful protests, okay? Because they had that entire wait till they come out. It's always going to be violent. Only conservatives can have peaceful protest. Well, these have happened time and time again. Millions and millions of people. Second, if we keep trying to psychoanalyze this administration, we're never going to get to where we need to go here. We're never going to understand it. There is no rhyme or reason here. Okay, these people are idiots. Next level dumbasses.
But there is rhyme or reason.
That's why we
the
are in
greatest.
the position
They
that we are
want
in
the
right now.
chaos.
White Wolf, this is
DRV.
my time. I reclaim my time, Mr.
Okay,
White
go,
Wolf.
go for it.
I
Hold
will
on,
give you
WW.
your time. Let me finish talking, and you can go on and talking about the three virgins of Fatima all you want. Give me a second, okay? Right. So there is that aspect of it. Listen, these people are ridiculously stupid, okay? And this is why we're in the situation that we're in, okay? Plain and simple. Then we're talking about the New World Order. And this is what frustrates me the most about conspiracy normies, that they can't recognize when the New World Order is actually taking hold. This is a New World Order. This is it. What Peter Thiel is trying to push. The Dark Enlightenment. Right? When we talk about these people, these elites, quote unquote, that are trying to, this is the move for a New World Order. The United States is being taken out of the world stage. All right. And that's one thing that they're actually doing successfully. They're freaking tripping all over themselves while they're doing it, but they're getting it done to the detriment of the American people and the West, for that matter. It's not just us, it's also Europe. Okay. It is the New World Order. This is right now. This is what's happening. And the sooner we come to terms with this, the better off we will be. We can continue to sit here and psychoanalyze this. And one thing that Twisted said, Twisted's a very smart guy. I talked to Twisted.
Don't tell nobody.
You know, I noticed how immediately we're like, hey, I'm going down Billy's road. Well, not quite. Not quite. But I'm going down there. But
leaving the rabbit hole.
The elite, right? What they call the elite are the wealthy have always been credited for revolutions, like Che Guevara, right? Che Guevara came from a wealthy family. That's what they consider the elite. He was wealthy. He was a doctor, right? And his family, they had tons of money, and it had to come from them. People with money have to cause these revolutions. Gandhi came from a wealthy family. These people come from wealthy families. They have the means to fund, right, or to do these things while we don't. But that doesn't mean that real revolution can't come from us. We can't be relying on these people to do that stuff. We can do it. But we need to get smart about it. And what do? We sit here and we talk nonsense, you know, and that's it. That's all that ever happens. And we wait to be led because, as Don said, sheep, right? We love to use that word, sheeple. Everybody's a sheep, sheep. But we're sitting here waiting to be led by Tucker Carlson, by Tim Pool, by Alex Jones, whomever, fill in the blank. Anyway,
Scott Bessent, man. Scott Bessent, 2028.
Ultimate thug. He will beat your ass in the back. He's done it many times, you know. But that's it. Ultimately, I just wanted to drop that in there. This is next level dumbass conspiracy theorist administration, and this is why they're running their things, their administration as they're running it. Like next level dumbasses. They're not trying to wait.
Very many conspiracy theorists happy. That's for sure.
What's that, buddy?
Conspiracy theory they're running out.
I missed that, Don. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
No, I said I don't know what how many conspiracy theorists they're making happy, because I don't know what their conspiracy.
Oh well, they completely messed up, but they drove the conspiracy theory train to the White House.
Oh yes, of course.
Right. So, but
Because
they completely messed up. But they still believe. Some of these people, I think, are true believers that they still go along with this, with some of this stuff, because that's the only. And I don't know, but it's the only way I can begin to rationalize some of their moves here. Regardless of that. All right, I'm going to turn it over to White Wolf, and you can say
White Wolf. What's your response, White Wolf?
Okay. Well, first of all,
Who
BRV
was that
talks about
guy?
being in the bubble and so on and so forth, and he talks about popular revolution. Well, if you want to have popular revolution, do it the way the Cristeros in Mexico did, and that would begin with a boycott. Okay, because the boycott in Mexico worked. It was shutting down the economy as far as government taxation was concerned, and then of course the Cristeros rose militarily, and they were actually winning. In fact, the Cristeros would have won despite the fact that that the Mexican government, the Federales and Cales, had the support of the U.S. Air Force. The Cristeros still won that war. They were betrayed by Pius the 11th. That's the only reason why they lost, and that's a story in itself. But there's a way to have a popular uprising under our Lord Jesus Christ the King, and under valid principles of liberation. And
a lot of that resistance.
Go ahead, Joseph. Let White Wolf let Joseph make his point. Go ahead, Joseph.
Well, I don't want to change the subject, but I was going to talk about vaccinations. Sure. I can wait.
We've talked about a million other things. Why not? Sure.
Okay. Well, I was, I think one of the most, the first, I would say, I'm thinking that the only way not to consent to this system at all is to just go into the woods and live as a feral person. I feel like a domestic chicken trying to remember how to be a wild chicken and survive in the woods. So I don't have to consent to this system. But I think fundamentally the worst thing happening right now is the childhood vaccination schedule. Sure. It is just brutalizing these kids. It's like destroying a seedling. They're based on what they call the traditional technology. And like with the COVID vaccinations, the adenovirus vaccinations, like Novavax and Johnson & Johnson. I'll be brief, but the adenovirus vaccines are based on the older technology, not the mRNA. So I looked at how these things are manufactured, like on an episode of How It's Made on the Science Channel. If they're putting a bunch of broken, shattered adenoviruses into people's systems, supposedly to make it more or improve their immune system. Well, in order to get a piece of an adenovirus, you have to farm, quote, farm the adenovirus first. So I asked, how do you get an adenovirus? And so the AI starts showing me the manufacturing process. The only way to get an adenovirus is on a rotting kidney from a human or a chimpanzee. And then at that point, as it rots and all the other stuff growing on it, think of it from a manufacturing perspective. How do you remove the virus from the kidney? How do you isolate it? They don't filter it. There's no way to filter it. They put chemicals on it that dissolve it into like a liquid. And then this is the old technology that kids are getting on day one. And I think to add to what Twisted said earlier about realizing like how disturbing people's reactions were during the lockdown, the childhood vaccination schedules are basically unchanged in this post-COVID world where so many people have dropped dead.
Well, Joseph, just let me interrupt for a second. RFK Jr., one of the accomplishments he did make, he cut the childhood vaccines from 80 something to 12, but a federal judge overturned it. So that was a remarkable change. But again, one of these federal judges, I don't know if you know.
I think I heard you say that before. You know, the vaccination with this is so disturbing, but the vaccination with the highest, they call it a compliance rate, is the hepatitis B shot given to newborns on day one.
Well, that's what
the only way
they got it stopped, I think, but I know that's, excuse me.
It's
the only way to get
Tylenol.
the only way to get hepatitis is through semen. So if they're pushing you to give your baby that shot, I mean, where's the baby at risk? I mean, it explains itself, but okay, I'm going to mute myself now.
No, absolutely. You make some great points. Angel Blue, good to see you in the chat. And I'm glad you liked the interview with Susan Daniels a while back. And Susan still comments regularly on my Substack. I tried to get a hold of Kate Daly, that you and Vince Ignelli have been pushing me. She didn't respond to me, so I don't know. I'm not sure why. But anyway, people skeptical about Billy Ray in the chat room. RB, you were talking, I think, earlier. You got interrupted.
Well, as far as the China-U.S. Thing, that we're going to be covering that tonight on my show, so we'll save all that for later. So if we encourage people to tune into RB Ham Beyond the Pale tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern Time on Rumble or YouTube or X, you can watch it there too, and we'll discuss that more and get really into it, because we're going to have the esteemed Salim Mansour weighing in, and he's probably smarter than both of us on the subject. He really knows the stuff about what's going on in this emerging multipolar world that we're facing. But getting to the vaccine thing, my quick little comment on the vaccine thing is that I did a deep dive into it, and so everybody believes, of course, that polio was cured by a vaccine, when that's not true at all. The major rise in polio infections happened when we had unregulated pesticide spraying of farmland. And everybody believed that DDT was a magic chemical. Remember that time? Where they would spray kids with DDT when they were coming to school to get rid of lice and stuff. I mean, it was beyond bizarre. And there's that famous story of FDR got polio from swimming in a water hole on land that had been sprayed by DDT. My grandpa got polio. That's why he managed to get out of World War II, because it wasn't childhood polio. It was like he was like in his early 20s, and he went swimming in a local water. Every farmland has these little water holes, right? And everybody thought everybody swam in them, and even fished in them and stuff for years. Nothing went wrong. And then all of a sudden in the 1930s, they regulated DDT to be sprayed on chemicals to kill all the pests that they thought were killing the plants. Of course, it doesn't just kill the insects, it kills everything else, right? And so he went swimming in a water hole, and he developed polio and got out of World War II because of it. And so if you look at the fact that the polio rates dropped like right off the cliff as soon as they stopped, when they made DDT illegals, when polio dropped off the table. And that whole thing about the iron lungs and stuff, that was all a psyop to make people think these things weren't even active. They show you the iron lung stuff was all just it was for.
Well, you can see how the reaction to RFK Jr. is this just his hearing and everything. We are you cannot criticize the vaccines. Vaccines good. I mean, the fact that they're giving infants, like Joseph talked about, on the first day of life, whatever, a hepatitis B vaccine. That's for sex and intravenous drug users. I mean, what kind of society does that?
Well, it's Rockefeller medicine, big pharma medicine, and it's been conditioned and indoctrinated to us since the early 20th century.
The big pharmacies are all lies. It's all just a pack of lies, and within the lies you have controlled opposition, and you have alternate narratives, and so on and so forth. It's just like with COVID, they said, it was spread from markets in Wuhan by rats and bats and whatever. And then of course you had the Wuhan lab leak. That was another alternative.
Yeah, that was the Republicans. Yes, they lied about that. No, it wasn't with it. It was just like the hantavirus. I when I published my Substack today, I put down the symptoms of it. It's the exact symptoms for everything.
So, I
It's
like I was gonna say, what I was going towards is you take a look at people who are not vaccinated in large numbers, like the Amish community or
right.
Mennonites up here in Canada. They're the healthiest people you'll see, and they
Oh
don't do
yeah,
any
same
vaccines at all.
thing. Same thing in Lancaster County. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The
WW knows
Amish
all about that.
schoolyards and a public schoolyard, it's like night and day.
They're
In
not
the
that. They're
public
not.
schoolyard,
Oh, go ahead.
the kids are all zombies. In the Amish schoolyard, they're running around, kicking balls, and having fun.
Go ahead, Joseph.
Not, the Amish are not the most beautiful people I've seen.
Yeah, but
Europeans are.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, well, I mean, some of the aren't the Amish probably come from Europe, man. I don't know. But Linda Craig, yes, it is tonight. I know Linda. I know I've seen her in the chat room at your podcast. Yeah, 10 tonight on Roby's Beyond the Pale channel on Rumble and YouTube and everything. Let's see, good people here can see.
Can I throw something?
Hyperfocus is the medical industrial complex, and the thing is, why do we think everybody that has? I mean, my experiences alone with loved ones, killing my brother, so many other things they've done. I'm not alone. Had so many people in the show, but how do people still have allegiance to this? Why is it impossible for us to call out the medical industrial complex? They're the third leading cause of death in America.
But
Admittedly, I think they're probably number one. Why do they still have so many
they
people?
save lives too. I mean, I don't know where I stand in terms of trying to what I want to tell people what to think. All I know is how I react every day. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
I know right now I said, oh, they save a lot of people's lives too. You know, people that are in the normie world, they don't see the way we talk about subjects that these
Right,
people they don't even think about stuff like that. They look at it, doctors saved my life, they're trying to save my life. And
right.
it's true, there's people that had heart attacks, the doctors revive them, life support. My son, when he was 3 years old, he got a shot and he got vaccine injured, he nearly died, and they had to do all these transfusions, and that was in 2016, and it was crazy because I heard all the conspiracies, I ignored them all, and then when that happened to him, I felt so guilty as a father for allowing that. And then when COVID came, it's what gave me the courage to stand up to everything and be
Mm,
against it. And we
yeah.
lost our home and all this stuff. But what I'm going at, but I would never tell anybody else to not vaccinate their kid because I honestly don't know the full truth because I have three kids. One got hurt, the other two completely normal.
Well, it
I
doesn't
see.
happen all the time. But it's
Yeah,
just the
so
fact that
it's
people
but
should
what
have
if
the right, and we shouldn't have. I've had people on my show. We've had Samson and Reggie Bowles. I've had on several times. The kids were taken from them by Child Protective Services because they wouldn't vaccinate them. They force vaccinated the oldest one, and he developed full blown autism. And it was obvious. It was great. There's no. I mean, they might as well have just given him a poison. I want to
but
thank.
that was the Tylenol, Don. That was the
Oh
Tylenol.
yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
UDA 33. Thank you
Hey,
so
Don.
much for the kind words in the chat. Yes, go ahead, Joseph.
You know, the term inoculation comes from the fungus farming industry. I was reading about how to farm the type of mushrooms that grow on rotting trees. In order to have it successful, you have to have a tree that's freshly dead, meaning you have to freshly cut it or find it. And the reason that you have to do that is because it can't have any other organisms in it to fight the fungus you want to put in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what you do, it's the same as babies. So what you do is you get a piece of fresh wood that hasn't started rotting, and you drill holes into it, and then you mash up a mushroom, and then you push it into the hole, and then you seal it over. It's just a bigger version of a vaccination.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody wants to learn more about it, there was a court case. A lot of vaccine stuff, obviously, as we all know, doesn't go to courtrooms, but there was one, if you search Dr. Stanley Plotkin, Plotkin. You can find the full thing on it if you search that name.
Absolutely. Good to see Karen Carpenter in the chat. Thank you. It's good to see Jennifer. Great points, and certainly we. But again, that's what and as Twisted Pistol says, I don't want to make anybody. But I think you're at this point again. You're being really stupid if you don't see some kind of connection between vaccines and autism. And yeah, it's not going to happen to everyone, but autism. When I was a kid, I heard the word autism. It was so rare, it was unknown. One in like 100,000. I forget what. 100. I forget. Now it's down like 1 in 30 or something, and it's increasing all the time. And what changed? They started the increase exploded in 1989 when they dramatically raised the number of childhood vaccines to this incredible number that's up to 80 something now. RFK Jr., to his credit, tried to stop it and did get it cut to 12, which was a huge improvement. Not all the way, but a huge improvement, and a federal judge overturned it. So there you go. Even if something good happens, the one good thing that might have come out of this administration, a federal judge overturned it, just like he overturned Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship, one of his good things he tried to do. So that's where we are. So I see hundreds of thousands of people storming these courtrooms and taking these people. Like I talked earlier in the show about that woman at the young girl at the college in Florida who made a joke about Benjamin Netanyahu. I would love to see people storm that court and take that judge out of there. That's sitting there trying to prosecute her for a felony for making a joke. I mean, it's just you can't have that kind of stuff. But I'm sorry. Anybody have anything?
Hey, Don, I'm gonna. I want to continue talking, but I got to check out because I'm starting to cramp up, and I got to go get some more electrolytes. So I apologize for leaving.
Stay in shape. I may need bodyguards at some point, so I appreciate it.
Fight the power, everybody.
Okay, man. Thanks, Twisted. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you, Twisted.
Thanks, you, brother.
Yep. Bye.
Take care. So, so we've covered so many different issues here, but that's what it is. And my friend Billy Ray and I disagree on the conspiracy because I don't think it's the conspiracy theorists that are the problem. Conspiracy theorists have been right about everything. The problem is there's lots of different conspiracies, so-called, but all of us are pointing out things. And some of them are doing it the wrong way, maybe, but I don't know. What do you think of that, RB?
Well, I'm saying the conspiracy theorists aren't the problem. It's the conspirators that are the problem.
Yeah.
And who do you think hates conspiracy theorists the most? Conspirators. Yeah. That's why they go after us so hard. That's why the CIA wrote that memo saying you got to paint these people as crazy, and make that word conspiracy theorist toxic. Just like after 9/11, they turned the word truther into something toxic. What do you mean? I want to know the truth, so now I'm bad for wanting to know the truth.
Is there something wrong with wanting to know the truth? That's what people. A lot of the truthers objected to be called truthers. Why would I object to that? Is there anything more noble than seeking the truth?
I know.
I don't
exactly.
Again, we let them, we let them set the narrative. And again, it goes back to the, all you have to do is read that, and it's dated April 1st. I don't know if they made, if they want people to think it's an April Fool's joke, but it wasn't. The CIA memo from 1967, countering criticism of the Warren Report. It's textbook for what the media has followed that ever since then on all issues, not just JFK, but it talks about use on assets within Operation Mockingbird. To point out how Bobby Kennedy would have been the first one to fight for a new investigation. What about the Kennedy family? It's all the familiar things. Basically, the someone would have talked argument.
Yeah,
they learn these. Every journalist, I'm convinced when they go to class or something, they pass out that memo and just here's the talking points. What we're going to do.
And when insiders do come forward, like Edward Snowden or John Kiriakou or Julian Assange, and actually do release insider information that proves that a conspiracy theory is true, what happens? They are pilloried in the press, and they're piled up. The state goes after them, of course, and tries to destroy them in any way possible. But then the people in the press, the Operation Mockingbird, they pile on and make character assassinations of these people. So it's an uphill battle, and you're not going to be right about every conspiracy theory, of course, and you should try to get as much of the facts as you can straight. But when the state is actively suppressing any information,
Right.
conspiracy theories are ripe to just go wild then. And so then you can paint the ones that go off. And of course, you have the Operation COINTELPRO types that infiltrate the movement and make wild, crazy accusations. And then they're pointed at and laughed at and said, don't be like that guy. And Alex Jones is probably one of those that they set
and
up.
if they don't want conspiracy theories, they need to come up with better narratives. You keep telling us shit that's impossible. You're telling us stuff we know is a lie. So of course you're going to have people that are going to speculate. Some of them are going to be paid by somebody to speculate the wrong way. Billy Ray's here to represent the anti-conspiracy theory world. Go ahead.
Well, he's one of us. Billy Ray's one of us. He's just able to point out the crazies better than us.
Well, I don't think conspiracy theorists are a part of the problem. I don't think they're the whole problem. But the reason why conspiracy theorists are a part of the problem is because they deny. First off, a lot of them don't even subscribe to conspiracy theories that are fake. Then, when proof is given to them to the contrary of their beliefs, they deny it until something like R.B. Ham says, right? So until one of the quote unquote whistleblowers, because what makes up the government, what makes up the deep state, what makes up this entity? It's people, right? So when one of these people come forward and confirm what you've been speculating about, that's fine. Let's buy into that, right? That's not a conspiracy. That's real. They're finally coming forward and confirming what we believe, right? But when they come forward and say something else that you don't believe, let's shut that part off. That's the part that is very detrimental to us. As conspiracy theorists, we cherry pick what we want out of this or whatever. There's a couple of people in the chat. Who was it? Tim. I think it's Tim. Cliff. My guy Cliff. He thinks I'm a CIA agent. He thinks I'm getting paid.
He's ready to call ICE on you, Billy.
I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna come out and say it. I am, man. I am a full-blown shill. Don has known this forever.
Well, hey,
I get paid millions of dollars to sit in this kitchen and talk to you.
And I get nothing.
To this little ass audience that I maintain, millions of freaking dollars I get paid just to give you a heads up. So hey, I'm laughing all the way to the bank. Just putting out disinformation. Obviously, that's not true, right? I don't get paid by anybody. The only people that have ever paid me was David Icke and what is it? Aftermath Radio, conspiracy theorists. Those are the only people that have ever paid me to talk to you. Otherwise, no, I haven't gotten paid. But yeah, that's the thing. And with the vaccine thing, man, it's listen, man. I sat down with Wayne McCroy to do a whole presentation for one of my classes. I went to, and I took this is a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I took the position of, vaccine hesitancy. And while I was able to prove why people are hesitant to vaccines, or at least demonstrate that, I was not able to prove that there is a link between autism and vaccines. I wasn't able to prove it. That there's just no scientific evidence to back that up at the moment. It could change at some point, but I'm not able to prove it. There are a lot of parents that believe there is a correlation, but then again, there's a belief. There's no scientific proof to prove that. And as far as the hepatitis vaccine goes, that's a whole nother thing, right? And I'm not a doctor. This is just what I've read.
The manufacturing process is the proof. If you want to shoot your kid up with liquid, rotting chimpanzee kidneys, how can you argue that that's not going to do harm to the kid?
Wolf. That's White Wolf talking to me, right?
No, this is Joseph.
Joseph, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
You're the man, BRV.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate
you called voting a consent ritual, and looking at everything, it's a consent ritual.
Tell me about it. Well, how much time do we have left, man?
Yeah, we're just about 7. I want to tell Ellen Corley. I want to just
maybe next week, Joe. Everybody, I love you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Don.
Right. Okay, man. Linda, good to see Ellen Corley in the chat. Just to clarify something, you mentioned it wasn't. You said something about that. You were talking about this. I was talking about the CIA, the memos from the CIA, and you. I think, yeah, you said you were talking about name that the article in conspiracy. It's not an article in conspiracy. It was a memo, the 1967 memo of the CIA. It wasn't in the Warren Report because it was before the Warren Report. Good to see, Ellen. Just to clarify that. 3 people talking about Invasion of Bodies, Snatchers movie, and there were 3 of them. Very first 2 especially very good, and one of my favorites. And Piper Fogel says RFK Jr. removed the vaccine mandate. You could still vaccinate your kid if you're. And again, RFK Jr. Say what you want about it, but he did slash the number of vaccines, child vaccines, from 89 or something to 12. That's pretty good. It's this huge start. And again, a federal judge overturned it. I don't know the status on the hepatitis B. I know he tried to get rid of that too, but who knows? Federal judge said we're just about out of time. I appreciate everybody here. Let's go around. Any final thoughts from anybody?
Well, I'll say my piece here. Tune in tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern Time on RB Ham Beyond the Pale on Rumble, on YouTube, on X, on Facebook, and I'm even on Kick now. So go on to Kick and look up RB Ham Beyond the Pale and be a follower there. I've only got 4 or 5. I'm trying to grow there anyway, but we're going to be discussing the China-U.S. Visit and talk about what the fallout's going to be from it, the consequences, what proves what the world we're living in right now. Are we moving towards a multipolar world? Are we already in one? Are we already in a one world order system? And this kind of proves it. And what's going to happen afterwards, and how will we know that things are going to change? And Salim Mansour, Professor Emeritus from Western Ontario, a great scholar, is going to be with us tonight to talk about that. And if you want to support me, because as you know that I fought against the COVID tyranny, a lot of people, like Twisted was talking about how he just went away. He tried to stay low and stay out of it and not fight back. Was probably the smartest thing to do, because I got hammered for it. I ended up getting 8 tickets for $50,000 fighting against the COVID tyranny, and using a left-wing perspective for it. But I was lumped in as right-wing Nazis because the Trucker Freedom Convoy happened when liberals were in charge. So we were all painted as far right-wing fascist Nazis, bullshit like that. But it's not true. I mean, there's a civil liberties component to what they did to us during the COVID tyranny. That, you know, they attacked our civil rights, our freedom of speech, our freedom of assembly, and that's what I was looking at it. And to this day, and I remember at that time telling all my right-wing friends that were supporting me at the time, I said, well, I hope you feel the same way when another government comes after left-wing protesters who are, you know, Palestine protesters. I hope you feel the same way and support their freedom of speech. Of course, 90% of the people are who were on board with the Freedom Convoy types, those right-wing types, are now, you know, cheering on them, on left-wing protesters getting their skulls cracked at the universities and stuff, because that's what, you know, there's no consistency. Civil rights, civil liberties has to be a consistent issue, whether, doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. So if you would like to support me, I'm just dropping it in the chat right now. You can go to givesendgo.com/RB. Help me out.
The Canadian government came down on him hard. Help him if he can. Good man. Fighting trucker from Canada. Appreciate it. Thanks, Ellen. She's going to try to join. I'll see you in a few hours. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. Thanks to everybody in the chat.
Thanks guys.
White Wolf, thanks, Joseph, Obi-Ham, Twist Middle. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. See you next week. Same platforms. I Protest. Thanks for listening. I Protest.